What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am your host, Nefarious.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And tonight, we have got Rex here to tell us all about his creator-owned comic book crowdfunding campaign, Devil Flyer, A Devil's Weapon, the epic-sized 48-page one-shot, now live on Fund My Comic. Rex, welcome to the show!
Hey, looks like I have quite an audience in here already.
I mean, we got like 2 people, but yeah.
Hello, Apex Comics.
I'm counting more than 2.
We have Agent Zero. Hello, hello. We have Aldous on the farm just off Orwell Lane. Hello, hello, and welcome. And then we have Neff, but he doesn't count. And we have Mo Biggs. It is officially a stream. Hello,
Mo.
Mo.
You know, we were watching Bancroft on Thursday, and Mo popped in the last, 5 minutes, and I was amazed because, you know, Mo is usually completely absent on Thursdays. But
yeah,
glad to have you with us here now, Mo.
Yeah.
All right.
And we started on time.
Yeah, and
so I'm excited to get into this book, right?
Well, glad excited to be on your channel for the first time.
Well, we've been meaning to get you here for a while, right? And that day is finally here, and we're going to talk about the book. But before we do, why don't we get into a little bit more about you? And tell us, what you do when you're not moonlighting as a comic book creator.
I actually spray at nights for mosquitoes. It's a seasonal job. I'm starting my 12th year with the company this year. The longest I've ever worked for anyone, as a matter of fact. Wow. Here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, mosquitoes get bad.
Is that where the name Devil Flyer came from?
No, Devil Flyer, I generally, start with a head. With this character, I drew out the whole costume. I don't know, sit down recliner one day and started designing character. I think it was in 2017, 2018. So he's one of my newer characters, although I've created a bunch since then. Just the wings, he can fly. Gave him like a Kurt Wagner X-Men Devil's Tail, plus he had a trident. And so I thought Demon Flyer, Devil Flyer. There are Demon Flyers, but that's part of the story. Sort of a pterodactyl-like character, shadow character characters that he controls, or does he?
Or does he? Or do they control him?
Well, he is being controlled. They're very astute of you, Neff. And by the way, Shadowhawk, who's my co-host over on my daily show, as you know, really loved Mavericks. Really loved what you did there. Cool. You did some awesome stuff on that campaign.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I mean, we had a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun stretch goals. People really like those.
I'm interrupting to say that I think we need to replace the meaning of FG. Does FG mean Fear Gale? That sounds like more epic than
Scary Wind.
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, you do make Scary Wind.
Hey!
I do too. Pull my finger.
Right?
I do not.
So
girls don't do that.
No, Timothy Olsen, it is Freak Girl, as in Frequency Girl. We have also got, Timothy Olsen with us. We got Creators Outlet. What's up, Will? Glad to have you. And we've got Carrie with us. Hi, Carrie. Glad to have you with us tonight. So
I ran a Leap Day special because I really loved yesterday because it only comes around every 4 years, and so I wanted to do something special. And about 12:30, I was thinking, just kind of relax in bed, sleeping because I stream, later, and it's, you got to sleep when you can, and I thought I should totally not let this day go by without a special. And so I said, anybody that backs the book will get a free Devil Flyer standee like this picture here done by John Dillard there. with the flame wings and everything that's
Oh,
behind
you mean
that.
in the background? Our
In the
background?
background,
Yes,
yeah, in the
Yeah,
background.
cool.
And so, since I'm on your show shilling tonight, I will extend that till 12:30 at least, or you know
Hey, that's
what, this
awesome.
this time till tomorrow, six
Nice.
till 6 tomorrow. So if you back Devil Flyer, you'll get a free acrylic standee with your purchase,
Fantastic, guys. You
and
heard it
all the
here. Free
tchotchkes. We just
acrylic standee.
yeah. Yeah, and we may be adding another one to the campaign. I don't know. I'm wanting
What
to
do you
take this
think about
higher.
adding a devil fryer? You know, like the George Foreman grill? What if you did like an air fryer, but
Yeah.
like with the devil fryer logo? Would that be something you'd be interested in doing? I could get you a good deal on some air fryers. I think Pixel's on to something here when he
Maybe.
suggested it. Pixel says, talk to Neff or me about your standee order if you haven't ordered them yet.
Truth.
That is true. Pixel has, the inside baseball on the standees, and he'll get you invited to all the heavy clam bakes, if you know what I mean.
Cool.
That's a deep
Yeah,
cut,
yeah. I've
right?
not done any acrylic standees before, but this one here, I got, and I thought that was a great deal.
Oh yeah,
You got the book, a sticker, and a standee for $25, and I thought if he can do it,
Chad Townsend's book. What was it? Black Phantom?
Black Phantom, yeah.
That was
if
it.
he could do it, I said I'll throw it out there.
Yep. Yeah, definitely worth it. I mean, the standees are a lot of fun. They're great little bit of memorabilia, fun to look at, nice little bit of art. You don't have to do them too big. One of the things we found was like the smaller that you go with the standee, the easier and more affordable they get because you can increase the size of the order. Anyway, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let me get into a little bit more of your backstory. So you grew up reading comics, I assume, right? What were some of your favorite comics growing up?
Well, starting out, in 1974, I got a Vampire Tales #5. I begged my dad for it. It had monsters in there, big monster, and we'd get these scholastic news things. But really, my love for comics probably started, and I didn't even know it subconsciously, was probably with Herculoids, Space Ghost, Johnny Quest. Awesome stuff that came out in the 60s, early 70s, Super Friends, but Ted Kennedy's legislation in the mid 60s kind of killed the cartoons, violence for kids. So it really went PC, I guess, for a while. I mean, a long while, up into the early 90s when they were doing Superman and Batman and things like that. Tim Bruce would talk about you can't show much blood, and that's kind of like relented now. But there for a long time, there was a vast wasteland because of that legislation, almost like the throwback of the authority code back in the 50s during the McCarthy era, where they had actual comic book burnings. And they were saying comics contribute to the delinquency of kids. And I don't think that was true, but they did have some very strong imagery back then, as you know, like the EC. And then they kind of saved their publishing thing by just kind of doing Mad Magazine. But they were
I love Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
All this actually gave me a really great education on the history of like creepy and eerie and those, the comic publishers and how they managed to do or get away with what they were getting away with. It was a really interesting time in comics, right? And how to skirt the comic book code and the comics authority. So you were in at a very interesting time when you had sort of a mainstream industry that was being controlled by ideologues who were pulling the strings and saying what could and could not be made and forcing people out of the industry who wanted to challenge the rules. And now you're jumping into comic books in current year, right? So, what?
I was going to read a comment.
Okay.
I'm interrupting. Aldous says special attachments to turn your radio flyer wagon into a radio devil flyer. The options are endless for marketing time.
We're really reaching back to those, those callbacks to the.
Absolutely, I had a radio flyer, I believe, wagon when I was young.
I was going to say it's perfectly like period, right? Yeah. We also got Billy Powermax with us, and we got Ice Queen with us.
Hey, Caroline.
Did we say hello to?
We have Brian Vitas with us.
Everybody's
glad to have you guys with us
from the UK.
Thank you so much for tuning in. So that's where you got.
I got interested in comics. Just the Avengers are what, the early run on George Perez Avengers are what really got me hooked. I didn't even realize that comics continued like a soap opera, from issue to issue, even though it said next issue. I never knew really where to get the next issue, but once I was hooked, started collecting regularly in 1976, and I like the team books. I like the more bang for your buck or your quarter or whatever it was, and so Devil Flyer is about launching a whole universe of characters, ones that I've been working on, some going back to my childhood from the 1970s.
What about these days? What are you reading on the
stands?
stands?
But I've never had a distribution where I could get it printed. And then I saw the crowdfunding thing a few years ago and said, this is my chance, let's do something.
Yeah, I mean, that's what brings everybody here to this crowdfunding space, right? But what are you reading on the stands now? I mean, all of us are involved in comics. We're all out there consuming comic books and reading and learning and growing. What are you filling your diet with these days?
The only one I'm collecting, they came out with some full covers recently that were popular at my local comic book store. Actually, I got a big dump from the dollar bin at my local comic book store, which was old stuff, if something catches my eye, like Batman 5 here, this was on the stands recently, but at $9, kind of pricey. Here's a title called Fish Flies that I just like the artwork.
Good call.
Yep. There's
weird, man. It is a weird title.
I am a Lemire fan.
There you go.
There's
it's
Fish
same
Flies.
issue, but different I think that's color cover.
Is that the one we sent to Aldous? Or did we send 3 to Aldous? I don't remember.
I don't remember whichever one we had multiple.
So I the only thing that I collect right now that I actually have in my pull list has been Spawn. And that's kind of a price point collectability type thing. I'm not reading it, but I am collecting it. I have been since about issue 301. And I do have some back issues, but
it's a good title to get your hands on, definitely. So I guess, like, how'd you get your start writing comics? Is this your first book? When did you start writing them?
Well, on Indiegogo, I've been a super collector for a long time, collect all kinds of production artwork and original artwork stuff. Like here's the color separation to Avengers 4. Now, and I hope to do some stuff. I did come out with an ash can last year, the Devil Flyer ash can, which is still up on Indiegogo. And that was 24 pages, and we had bookmarks, magnets, trading cards with that campaign still up on Indiegogo. And but yeah, this is the first full length type thing. I've actually been sitting on the Devil Flyer story for a couple years. It was completed in 2022, or at the very beginning of, the beginning of 2022, about March or April.
So how did you come up? How did you get around to writing it? What I want to know is, how did you become a writer, Rex?
Well, okay. I was actually working for a guy that was, pretty financially well off. He was a millionaire, really. He didn't live like it, but he had broke his arm. He had just come out of a care place. He was for 6 years prior, I had sort of been a caregiver for one of my mother's neighbors. Her husband had had a stroke. And so I kind of helped him out for like 6 years till he passed away. And then they were kind of linked up, with the same circle of people, and said, Mickey needed someone to help him out. And he did need some help. He was unsteady on his feet. His medication was wildly out of whack. And we all got that, pretty much in 6 months, really 3 or 4 months. We got all that leveled out, and he was doing a lot better. And then he passed away. I found him dead, Labor Day weekend. I guess he had a heart attack or something. Um, but when I was working for him, he would frequently call me in there about every 5 to 10 minutes, and you couldn't sleep. And I was around the clock care for him for, you know, a lot of people wouldn't show up for work to help with him. And I was there, you know, doing like at my age, even then, I was like, this was around 2017. I was doing like 126 hours, way too much work at my age. I'm 58 right now. So, you know, in my 50s and doing that type of stuff on your feet all the time, or not all the time, but I mean, so he just kind of kept me up, and I tried to draw, but you kind of get into it and you got to drop it. I started writing then. And then I asked my longtime friend of over 40 years, I've known him since 1982, John Ferlandez, who did the artwork to the story. Just one of the stories, the Devil Flyer story. He also inked and lettered it. I said, would you do, you know, I just created Devil Flyer, I guess in 2017 or 18, can't remember. And I think it was 18. And he said, yes, I would. Well, for the next 8 months, I pitched him all kinds of different ideas for stories and kind of, you know, Devil Flyer would be good, but how about this sci-fi or this, you know, or something you could jointly do. You draw half of it, I'll draw half of it. He was no. And I said, well, it clicked after 8 months. You said yes to Devil Flyer. Would you do a Devil Flyer story? He said, yes. Okay. So I went home about 8 hours later, a few days later, had the story. He got going on it. I added a couple pages. He added a couple pages. We winded up with 28 pages and a pinup, and he did a cover, which is up on the campaign. A watercolor piece. We put some ads. I put some ads in Alterna. Of course, building your channel for a couple years. I think that's helped. We launched over on Red Valkyrie on Shay and Sai's channel, and she dressed up as Devil Flyer and had COVID. You know, announced she had COVID the next day. She was like,
Oh, no.
yeah, we're going to end it. And I'm like, you're not going to give me even an hour? I was giving Shay a hard time. And she said, yeah, I got to come out of this thing. You know, I didn't realize she had COVID. She'd been kind of under the weather for a couple of weeks. But we had a good launch, did about $800 on the initial launch over there in less than an hour on Shay's channel. Couldn't ask for more. And since then, we've hit stretch goal, put up. There is new sketch cards being put up today. First come, first serve. New bookmark artwork, new artwork from me, and there's also a digital tier up now, so which wasn't initially. So we hit our first stretch goal and unlocked a trading card that John drew.
So you started writing while you were caring for an elderly friend. And you know, you'd been into comics for a while, so I assume that you were familiar with panel layouts and the flow of a comic book and all of that. But what's your process like, and do you have an editor?
I do have an editor. In fact, more than one. I think the more eyes, the better. In fact, somebody found a typo in the ash can. I think it was like an alternate spelling of the word. Nothing big, but my neighbor right in that direction, south of me, right next to my house, she's the next door neighbor. She teaches English at the university, and so she's one of my neighbors. She never edited a comic book before. You can never have enough fresh eyes on your project, Neff.
That's true.
Mobig says, with that launch, Rex can now claim he hit one out of the park at Shea Stadium.
There you go. Didn't think about that one.
I think I want to time myself out for that one.
Timothy Olsen says, put them together, it spells Nefgrex.
Yeah. Yes, Nefgrex. I don't get it. All right, so why don't you give me the pitch for Devil Flyer? Who is the protagonist? Obviously, it's Devil Flyer, right? But who is he? What is Devil Flyer?
Well, the protagonist in this first story, I told sort of a, tropish type story, to tell you the truth, although I think it's interesting, and the characters, you'll be seeing some of them if they're not killed off, because there are a few deaths in the book already. is a mobster in Chicago called Cy Marco. Now he's going to be tied in with a mafioso family going all the way back to the 40s, because in the next book I'm going to be telling a story set in 1959. I'm going to be telling a story set 250 years in the future, and I'm going to be telling a story that's slightly in the future. It's more Momentum Future Visions. That's the next book I want to come out with, along maybe with a supplement of Devil Flyer Zero to kind of keep that going. But it's all Devil Flyer related. Basically, he's a man born in 1899, and that would have made, I kind of figured that up. I wanted that, because like I'm old enough to be born in the 20th century, right? But no one's living that was born in the 19th century anymore. I just, thought that was a good thing. Just set that in 1899. He's not even a product of the 20th century. And then, but yet he is, right? He grew up in that. Actually, the inspirations for the character was Doctor Strange type character. Not that he works with magic, but then sort of that Eldritch Spawn. Spawn was another one, a sort of resurrected character. He fought in World War I, World War II. We'll get to that actually in issue 7, which deals with the origin of Devil Flyer. After this 6-issue arc, and this is kind of like a prequel magazine, it does, John drew it to scale, the size of a regular comic book, very small. We looked at just the other night of the original artwork, very small. He's 70, he was 71 at the time. He's 73 now. Had 2 eye surgeries, one on this eye, one on that eye, while he was drawing Devil Flyer. Took him a little over a year to draw, ink, and to letter it. So we've kind of worked on things before, but never gotten anything done, produced yet.
So I'm still a little bit curious about this time traveling winged demon weapon wielding character of yours. Tell me, like, what is his origin? Where does he come from? What are his powers? Who are his antagonists? And what's like the central conflict in the story? I'm aware that it seems like you have a very decentralized plot, right? Like it's not a linear plot with events that happen in sequence. You're jumping around, going to different points in time. Clearly, like his origin isn't going to be explored in the first issue. You're probably going to explore that later. So it's a non-linear narrative, right? But what can you tell us about this book without totally spoiling what you've got in store?
Okay. Well, all of these, going back, I had this complete story, was wanting to launch Devil Flyer #1 when I first got on YouTube, and said, that's not enough. Looked at the crowdfunding scene. And so that's how the Ash Can came about. The complete story, which is 28 pages, are pretty, straightforward storytelling, one and done, but it does leave open, a cliffhanger at the end, but it's a very satisfying story if that's all you read. Then I started adding these backstories. One thing, I looked around after the Ash Can. I was like, I need to get up another campaign. What have I got finished? Well, I had that finished. I had a 9-page Bog story, which is called Grave Tales, which is sort of my Swamp Thing type character or Man Thing type character. And because I have all kinds of, characters. And in the process, Devil Flyer is not a free agent. There's kind of a chaotic creature that is controlling his movements for everything that he does good. An action on Earth, he's kind of removing a firewall for Apocalypse to enter into the world. It's almost like he's made a Faustian deal with the devil to be back on Earth. And he's like opening Pandora's box a second time. So that's what makes a lot of these events and these time jumps and things and this chaotic stuff in the timeline and everything happen. And it just happens by a mistake, actually, him trying to save a friend. And you don't get to see that. It is alluded to. You don't know that in issue 1, but it is alluded to. It will be on the climax on issue 6. And so he has to, in the meantime, as sort of the end of the world gets closer and closer and closer, you know, he's putting together a team of all these other characters. That's how I kind of draw them all in. I will be doing a countdown, like in the first issue, will be 6 stories, the second 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, till you get to issue 6. And that way that leaves more room for, it gets easier for me. I'm telling longer stories, but I have more room for development of characterization, you know. And this larger story, which was kind of made for a one and done, was kind of stifling me, really, because it took up so much real estate within the book. So I said, okay, I'll do this magazine. I got a proof in for the ash can. It was done magazine size. And I said, this is the size the artwork needs to look at. He drew it so small, it needs to be blown up. So I want it stapled. I see a lot of glued square bounds, but I never liked those, you know, to read those and try and look in there and not damage the book. I wanted something that lay out like a book and be very user friendly. So we're doing this magazine, putting some of the stories in there that I have mostly completed. There's about 85 or more % of the book already done. Working on the last story now, about 8, 9 pages. It's the bystander character. There'll always be Devil Flyer as the main character that'll get a little bit more real estate, a little bit more storytelling in his story. But there'll also be a minor, right? You got a major and a minor like when you're in college. You'll also have one focus on another character within there. You know, it'll always be a different character. And this first one is kind of my watcher type cosmic character. And he's also pictured in the Grave Tales story. He's also in that. So there's already crossovers happening. There's already dialogue with the Inner Man story, which is just kind of a 2-page introduction to Inner Man done by John Dillard. But in the dialogue, it's tied in with the Devil Flyer story.
So if I was completely unfamiliar with Devil Flyer, and I just saw the background, the image, that's the background on this video, and I went, who the heck is that? What would you tell me?
Well, you know, he's a man of mystery at this point. To be total, I know, I'm not giving you what you want, but I mean, it is by the next story.
He's an avenging angel from the beginning of time who has fought, you know, battles all throughout history. And
yes, let's
manifested
go with that.
when mankind needed him most. Rex, give me something here, man.
You're tough, man. You're tough.
I am. That's what. That is why people come on this show.
Death, like a 300, you know, tome, you know, and make sure it was all in there in one issue.
I mean, that's Joe can afford to do that because Joe is the artist and the writer. And it's also taken a long time to do that book. So, you know, I don't know. I think a one-shot introduction to the characters are a great way to do that. But I'm still curious as to like what it is we're reading. You're telling me there's a mobster and you're telling me it's in the 40s, but there's also a story about, you know, the future. And then there's the introduction, a 2-page story that was done by Dillard. And it's 28 pages, but this is a 48-page book. And I'm being asked repeatedly by people in the chat to ask you about Bog. So how does Bog fit in?
Okay, so we have a 28-page Devil Flyer story. We have a 2-page Inner Man story. He's another character that will be the next focused character. You know, in this story, it's the bystander story, the story we're working on now that gives it that big cosmic feel, kind of that Jim Starlin Marvel type thing. And then we have a 9-page, which I think is personally my favorite, a story in it, which is kind of like my Swamp Thing or Man Thing like character. And that was actually the character that I wanted to produce first as a comic. So I've probably drawn him more than any other one of my characters. That being said, I had Doc Blaylock draw this story. And really, it's not about Bog. It's about the killer clown that preys on young children in there. But I think personally, that's my favorite story in this book. Devil Flyer is the central character, but there are characters involved in the universe. So we have small one and done stories backing up the Devil Flyer stories, and these individuals will meet with with Devil Flyer some sooner than others to be gathered up into a team to fight off this great evil that's kind of pulling the strings to Devil Flyer now. He's not a free agent, Neff. Is he good? Is he wholly good? Is he wholly evil? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to put some doubt there because I think that's some suspense that needs to be known. Overall, is he a heroic character? Okay. Yes, he is. He's a hero. You know,
all this wants to know is the clown in Killer Clown spelled with a K to be, you know, or C. Is it a C or a K? Killer Clown. Is it K? Killer K Clown, like
clown with a C,
or is it Killer with a C?
Yeah, and I actually call him Clown Killer because to assume his persona as a clown and start preying on the children in the park, he killed the original clown and took his makeup and everything and started preying on the children.
So he killed the clown to become the clown to kill the kids.
Yes. Now that's not depicted. Okay. That's going to be depicted later in another story, sort of backstory. But so you got to pick it up at some time, Neff. You're thinking linearly here. You know, there's many ways to tell stories.
So we got 28 pages of Devil Flyer, 2 pages of Inner Man. That makes 30 pages. And you got 9 pages of Bog. That's 39 pages. Where do the other 9 pages come from?
Okay, now that's what we're working on now with the Bystander story. And that
Bystander,
will feature, the Bystander is sort of my Watcher cosmic character.
So we got 9 pages of Bog, 9 pages of Bystander, 2 pages of Inner Man, and 28 pages of Devil Flyer, and this is a one-shot.
Yes.
So all of these stories are self-contained stories, simple introductions that are kind of supposed to whet the palate in a way for what's coming next. Have you been reading Ghost Machine by any chance, or Distillery? Are you presenting a book to us with a slate of characters that you're encouraging us to get, develop an interest for, and then you'll spin off their individual series one at a time, depending upon who people gravitate towards the most? Is that what you're doing here, or is this just kind of a 48-page?
That's part of it, but it is the Devil Flyer story, all told, I guess you could say, like an anthology type thing, but it's not really an anthology because all these characters are going to interact together within the Momentum universe, and like I say, he's gathering up a super team of villains and heroes to battle this great evil that has been locked up for some times. And through one of his actions, a lot of his power's been siphoned off, been put within his trident. I can't say that. There's the original page there. That's really is
Doc Blalock. Yeah, I want to just get to the Killer Clown art so that Mo can understand what I'm talking about here.
There it is.
When I say Goofanoid. Like,
I think he was going to say the same thing. That's why he was biting his tongue, and then you said it.
Oh, okay.
And
that's why he got mad? All right.
Yes.
So tell us where you got the inspiration for Bog.
Bog was created in 2015. Maybe a half a day, a couple of weeks after my father passed away. It's just me sitting down and drawing. The way I create a character, and you had asked this before, how do I do this? I generally do the head, and if I get the head, then I can extrapolate a costume, or in his, case, just his body. Rob is doing some artwork for me as well. And some of his is pictured up at the bottom of this campaign.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll take a look.
So I've been creating characters, like I say. There are instances where I have a name, like in 2017. I have a character called Silver Boa, which is kind of a retro type, gun-toting, adventure type, noir type character. And I heard on the radio, just by happenstance, that in Conception Island, which is down in the Bahamas, they found a silver boa constrictor. And I said, oh, silver boa, that's a great name. I've got to create a character. So that was an instance where I created a character with having the name first. Generally, I create the character, then I come up with the costume and the powers and the name.
Gotcha. All right, I mean that's a pretty cool way of doing it. Just trying to get like the face, you know, they say the eyes are the window to the soul, right? So if you
Mhm.
get the head right, you can get like the person, and then from there comes the
Right.
costume and the powers and everything. That's neat. Agent Zero wants to know more about he wants to know what Doc's bog style character from Pariah is called, and that's Pariah Mud and Blood, I believe, right?
His is the golem.
The Golem. Okay.
The golem, yeah. And that's the bystander there in the fedora hat on the opening page there. So
Right
that's
there.
my
Ah.
cosmic character.
So Aldis's pitch about it being a conjoined twin is not accurate.
Well, he could have a Quato.
Maybe we just can't see it.
Right, he could be carrying a, you know, holding his coat, just, you know, concealing his Quato.
He said, bystander being a conjoined twin pairing would be neat. One twin always looking to the future, one always looking to the past. Bystander's only weakness, the present.
Present, right?
That's
Yeah.
wasn't that the pitch that you gave Odin for Janus? Its only weakness is the
Hey,
present.
a good pitch, you know.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, so you've got the Golem. You know, Dojo's got a character named Bog, which is sort of a Swamp Thing, Man Thing amalgam also. It seems like this character is living in people's collective subconscious.
Yeah,
right?
Dojo
Like he's
Coon has
struggling
a
to get
bog
out.
character.
Yeah,
Dojo
he
Coon
does.
has a bog character.
You know, and then there's
Mine's
Swamp Thing
spelled
and Man Thing
BLGG
too.
for copyright purposes. But yeah,
Gotcha. You have an extra G in
there's
there.
just not that many great names for, like, without using the word swamp, you know.
Gotcha.
Man Thing, Swamp Thing. I don't know. Believe
Speaking
me,
of
I've
similar
got
names,
sheets of names, and Bog's just been the one that's kind of stuck with me, for
Mobig
lack of a
says,
better name.
canceling the Bronze Boa campaign. I'm never going to publish anything, am I?
He's never gonna publish anything.
I'm holding out for Baby Seal, Navy Seal. That's my favorite.
I think we could definitely make Baby Seal,
Yes.
Navy Seal work. Yeah, you wouldn't want to it's tough to get swamp names. You wouldn't want to call him, you know, the Moor, because that has a
Right.
connotation
Yes.
already, right? Like that might be considered racist. And like Bayou is a cool name, but it
If it
might
was
be
a girl,
too...
you can name it Marsha.
Oh god, yeah, you're right. Why is everyone's swamp creature always either like, you know, like a dude or like a giant monster?
It's not enough
right?
representation for female swamp
Well,
things.
you know, hopefully in the future, in the distant future, there'll be
even
a
say that with
female
a straight
version
face.
of Bog. I've actually drawn Bog as a female.
You know, if there's like Flotsam and Jetsam, right? And then like you know, stuff that's
Is that
floating and
Midwestern
just
Witch?
yes, but I was thinking more of like a giant clump of stuff, like a morass. But you really couldn't call the character Morass
No,
because
that's
that has
no.
another
bad.
connotation,
Yes.
right?
Speaking
It's
of C words,
You could go for Quagmire, but there's a Quagmire on Family Guy, right? And that's
No more
he's
name.
already destroyed that. Yeah.
I
Mobig
guess so.
says
I've got a
killing-
villain called Quagmire, but then I've
Dude,
not
if
really
you've got
done
Quagmire
anything.
fighting Bog, that would be awesome. They could be like swamp battle, you know?
Mobig
like
says killer
Sandman.
clowns.
Only moisture.
Moist. Only moister.
I'm trying, Mobig's killer
that a
clowns,
word?
Comedic conjoined cousin.
great, man.
Quattro.
I think you know, like moister could be used as a word. Sure, more moist.
Mobig
Yeah,
says
maybe I
Stenchler,
shouldn't say that around your wife. I'm just saying.
the marshal of the marsh.
We got
Hey,
Travis Gibb with us.
Travis.
He says, "Make
Make
swamp
swamp
monsters
monsters
great
great
again."
Marshall.
Oh boy,
of the marsh.
we got Marsha is a
That's what I
suggestion.
said.
Swamp
Marshall.
chick. Marshall. Yeah, we got
Female bog equals boo.
boo boo. Oh man, it's a lot of
We
fun.
got there,
It's a lot of
but-
fun playing with this character.
Giggity.
Yeah. That's the Quagmire.
Oh,
comment, right?
you know, I ran a
Marshall.
contest with one of my characters that was, I just as a placeholder. This will drive you crazy. I said his initials are TM. Guess what that stands for? For 3 weeks, I got like tragic meatloaf, and all kinds of guesses. You know,
Tiny mushroom. Yeah.
tiny mushroom, right? And it turned out to be total mystery. So I don't know that was a satisfying conclusion, but we had a winner and a couple winners actually on that. So
Tangle monkey. Yeah,
Tangle
I
Monkey.
think a lot of people.
There you go.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You're giving
So
me
who is
something
this
to
book
work with.
for? Who's the audience? What type of audience are you going for, like age range wise? Is this something like mature? Could teens enjoy this? Is this all ages? This is exclusively for swamp monsters?
I would think
like,
8 or 9. I would think almost all ages, but I would 8 or 9. Nothing's too much
okay.
grotesque.
So there's not like a lot of
Okay.
murder and blood or anything like. It's not at all like Pariah, right? Your swamp creature is not, mud and blood. It's he's like a friendly.
No,
swamp creature.
he doesn't go around squishing people's heads.
Yeah.
Like he did in Pariah Blood and Mud, the golem. Yeah. We are talking
Marcia,
about a crossover.
brackish bad bitch of the bayou.
Of the bayou.
So that's a long name.
Would she be
Yeah,
Cajun?
we could add some colons and hyphens to that, Mo.
We've had a request to refresh the campaign. Here we go.
Oh, Agent Zero made changes. I think he added art, maybe, or
He did,
something
yeah.
like that.
He has
Nice.
Yep, we just.
So you're doing pretty good on this with some of these higher tiers that are pretty impressive, as far as like the price points are concerned. I'll have to ask you, what is on them? Because this is a 48-page book, right? But I see multiple instances of you get this book plus the art book plus this other book.
Right.
Do you want to tell us more about how the campaign is designed?
Sure, and I, Justin Agent Zero, that's here in the chat. He's helped me with that. He's an admin over there and he had nothing but high praise when I told him that I was coming on tonight for you and your show. He's like, you're awesome.
Yeah.
I
don't know why.
And you
people
are
think
awesome,
that.
by the way. Yeah, the top tier there, sort of the featured reward, if you will, has everything in it. It's got the acrylic standee, and it also has a file of preliminary. Now that might be a little bit more graphic. I do know that there's a couple of decapitations in that. We did away with that in the story. There are no decapitations in the Devil Flyer story, but now you can get the original art bundle. I don't have the original pages because the artist wanted to keep those, and he kept the cover art and some other things. But I do have a few things that he gave me. He very generously gave me this preliminary file of stuff that's chock full of stuff. We have an artist edition, all 3 covers, which is a Jimmy Reyes cover, wraparound cover, which will be coming. The John Fernandez watercolor, sort of golden age, in his blue and gray costume. And then the very popular John Dillard burst through cover. And we have the Bog Tapestry for the blacklight. And then we just have like another tier that has all the standee, the tapestry, and the books without the file. And we have a digital tier for $15. A couple people have availed themselves of that. We'll cover A, B, and C. And like I say, Jimmy Reyes is starting to finalize, put the final touches. So that'll be dropping here pretty soon. He's already sold 15 unsight unseen. And I wanted a blank variant so that I could do some character drawings and maybe sell those on the next campaign for people who missed out on Devil Flyer #1 this first time. Just something to draw on. I wanted a blank variant, and you get a $5 price break from that. We do have all A, B, and C covers, the Jimmy Reyes and the Dillard, John Dillard and John Fernandez covers in a bundle for $60. We have Abby buy a meal, my dog Abby, who's frequently on my show and up in my lap. For $2.
A lot of people like Abby. A lot of 7 backers like Abby enough to feed her.
Oh yeah, she's a dog.
Keep her in food for a week.
She looks cute.
We just put the blacklight tapestry, the blacklight tapestry up. You can get the original acrylic painting, and if you buy the original Doc Blaylock acrylic painting, which is 11 by 17, you'll get a tapestry and all the accoutrements thrown in, all the tchotchkes plus a standee and everything. I'll give you everything with that.
Wow.
If you want. We have a draw-in tier. We've got a couple people that are going to be drawn in. I'm going to do something just big with that. That's going to be a 2-page spread in this last 8 or 9 page bystander story. The inside back cover will have an ad for Shay and Sai's channel, Red Valkyrie, as soon as I get it to me. I wanted to do that as a thank you for launching the campaign. We We have original art pages up there, and we will be putting some more up there just as soon as you can. The second one there on Grave Tales, you can see he's bending over the grave and he's doing his cosmic mojo, the bystander. And but something new that Justin just put up was a concept drawing I did the other day of Albino. He's a villain. Maybe subconsciously, I think some of these things, you asked me what I was reading currently, not a lot, except for CG projects, independent stuff. This character kind of reminded me of Skits, with the dreadlocks and everything. I've got an early Devil Flyer skull and he actually did a treatment for a story for Devil Flyer for me as well that I think I have. That we have up there. I thought I would put that up there. That's one of the few things that I have of John's, and just some more characters. The Mighty Battle Brick. I really like that character. He will be a thing. He will be on the drawn in tier too. That brick is going to be a major character. It's going to be some comedy relief.
What?
Just a brick.
Is he just a brick?
Old man Bog there. It's just a brick. Yeah,
Like
kind of
rock?
a takeoff of the Mighty Battle Brick, Battle Brick Road campaign.
Is it a character or a weapon? The Mighty Battle Brick.
It's a weapon character. How about that? I mean, is Devil Flyer a weapon?
Well, Devil Flyer has a trident that is a weapon, but it is also the character, right?
Yeah,
like something like that.
And the Batcave is a character. Gotham City's a character. House of Secrets and the House of Mystery are characters.
But those don't talk. I think she means does it have dialogue?
Yes.
Right.
Like, is it?
No,
what is the narrative
not,
voice of the battle?
It does not talk, but if it said one thing, it would be it's hammer time. Maybe.
What is the characterization of the battle brick?
A brick of coke.
A brick of coke. Bow. We had a whole bunch of people.
Very important question. Can the trident beat the brick, though?
Oh, yeah. What if we were playing brick trident shotgun?
I've got to say, the trident has so much power in it. Yes, it could probably shatter the brick.
Ooh.
When will you be releasing the battle brick action figure?
We can make that happen.
Actually, that could be done very easily. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, battle brick action figure.
I like that. Let's establish the character and then we'll do that. When people are invested in it a little bit more. But you can, the reason
Olsen
I have these
does not like that the trident
drawings. I sell it like this. If you had the very first drawing of Spider-Man, the very first concept of Spider-Man drawing, how much would that be worth? So I'm not giving these things away, but I have some lower tiers that we're adding, like this Killer Clown bookmark I did. Very affordable, I think, and some others there of Bog that I've done. And I've been preparing for this campaign for a while. We've got sketch cards up for a couple, and we'll be adding. I'm doing those on parchment paper, something kind of different. Here's an example of one. You can see a couple there they just kind of look yellowed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing them on parchment paper and putting them in a card holder. And so you'll get it delivered with a card holder. And I'll send these things right out, the original artwork. If the original artwork sells, I'm not going to wait for fulfillment. I'm going to get it to you just as soon as I can.
Timothy Olsen says, #release the brick. I think people are all excited for the battle brick.
Brick assemble. We've got a free 6 a.m. sticker. If you signed up, you're going to get a full trading card. We just hit 2,500. And that was a digital tier that was sold. Yeah, but they're in America. I'm absolutely going to send him all the tchotchkes and stuff for unlocking the first one. Our next stretch goal is Rob Ewing, who's out in the chat. He's a great artist. He's working with Timothy Olsen on Melvin, and has been. Zigzag Magnet. This is kind of my speedster and my company, Momentum Comics or Momentum Concepts, sort of mascot.
Does Timothy Olsen
you are true. You are true, Darren. I do not have enough cool stuff in my, so I had to produce it myself. I think if we want cool stuff, we're going to have to produce it.
That's true. who better to produce the stuff that we want than us?
Ourselves,
we know
right?
what we
And
want,
there's something
right? Exactly.
satisfying, you know, at the end of the year, hopefully, maybe I'll be about halfway or maybe a third way on filling up one of these with books and things that I've produced. How awesome is that?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be very cool. So why only a 30-day campaign?
Well, we're doing 30 days. We'll do a closeout Sunday. And we'll probably go another 30 days. First 30 days have been fairly successful. I want to push this thing as high as it can go. You know, the great thing is about 85% of it is, so I do expect, you know, maybe 3-4 months in demand. I'm not sure. We'll see, and get it finished and get it out to people so that we can go on to a book that the next book. And one reason I'm wanting this to be more successful is, you know, so that I can produce Momentum Future Visions, which you'll get to see these characters in this magazine, sort of cameo, but they'll be fleshed out. Some of those characters, like Bystander, you'll get to see him in his first battle in the next book. So, and you'll get to see Inner Man. He's only got like 2 pages in this, done by John Dillard. Good introduction, connection with Devil Flyer, but you'll get to see him in a much bigger. I've already got the script written, had it written for a long time. Usually you ask me about my thinking process. I think very cinematically. I guess that comes from movies and my love of movies and TV and stuff. I usually storyboard it out with that Inner Man story. I didn't. I just kind of thought it out in my head and started writing it. I always, every book that I do will at least have one first, you know, first appearance or rookie cards, right? Or what make things collectible. You will always get something new that will make the book collectible in a Momentum comic. Always a bunch of first appearances. I think in my Ash Can alone, I had 16 or 17 first appearances.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Devil Flyer and Hopper, another character that only Rob Ewing has drawn and myself, was on a comic. There was a couple of years ago, there was a Indiegogo where they had, and I really like this, and I'm going to do this maybe on the next page or at some point. I like this idea where people could have their characters put on the cover. It was an Avengers 181 George Perez homage cover with all the characters around the table. And so Devil Flyer, and they had 3. One was already sold. I bought the other 2, and we put in Devil Flyer and Hopper on those cover. And so Devil Flyer is there next to a public domain character, Blue Beetle. So how cool is that? You know, so they've already been on a first appearance on a cover.
Yeah, together.
And the Ash Can, you only got to see his hand. But the story is about the Trident. And the Trident will play a big part in the conclusion of matters when the whole story is told. And I want to tell this as quickly as possible for people. And so
in
hopefully I'll
looking
get
at the campaign, right? I'm looking at the campaign.
Uh-huh.
Why fund my comic over another funding platform like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Zoop, or Crowdfunder?
I know Kickstarter is probably the biggest one out there. I did start out on Indiegogo. The shadow banning kind of turned me, and plus, you know, Luke's very accessible. Other people are over there accessible. Got with Justin. That was stroke of genius on my part, if I do say so to myself, to get him, and he was more than happy to do it. I really appreciate this. This campaign wouldn't be up today if it wasn't for Justin. You know, I'm technically challenged. Computer, what is that? Okay, I know that much, but very little past that.
Why the $2,000 goal then? Is that what you need to fulfill the book and print the book? How much of your own money have you put into it?
I don't know that I've calculated that up. It has been thousands of dollars working with. I can't.
So why only 2,000 then as the goal?
2,000 I think was, you know, we reached that goal in 4 days. Maybe that was a little low, but
well, that's why I'm asking. What was the thinking there? There's got to be a reason that you picked 2000 as a number. What was it?
I think with the current economy, I think that was obtainable. Um, I've seen some very good projects not fund. I didn't want to put it too low, and I didn't want to put it too high.
Well, what I'm asking, Rex, is
Mhm.
was there a reason for like you priced out, if I print 2000 copies, that's going to be $2,000? Because otherwise you could have done like $7.50. You know what I mean? Like you could have made it anything. What was it about 2000 that spoke to you? You could have made it $100, right? Like if you were going to make this anyway, you were going to make this anyway. You could have gotten
Mhm.
funded earlier. I'm asking
Yeah, I'm
why
just basically going to
2000?
make it anyway, at this
Right.
point.
So why
Yeah.
2000? What was the thinking there?
I thought that was, a high enough goal that, you know, uh, I vacillated heavily on this.
Right.
I've gotten quotes from different people. I've asked other creators that stud crowdfunders. They told me 750. They've
So
told
did you
me
price out your print
certain
job?
others told me higher than that.
Did
Did
you
I what?
price out your print job? Do you know how much it's going to be to print the copies of the book?
Yeah, I mean, this is not really my first campaign. I did an ash
Right.
can, and I do work closely with the local printer here. Now they
Right,
won't
which
be
is why I'm
printing everything.
asking.
hmm Yeah, I mean, as far as the trading cards, I know what they're going to cost. I know what the bookmarks are going to cost because I know what the magnets are going to cost. Um, I know pretty much how much the 24-page ash can cost me. So, yeah, we are doing some things that I've never done before on this, the tapestry through Dark Gift Comics. And that was just because Doc Blaylock wanted one to go with his. He worked on that story. He had a swamp. We worked closely together. So I said we could absolutely, do that. That was the first big add-on. And then, while we were putting it together, a standee, okay, we'd do a standee. I think we can do it. I've seen like Phantom do theirs, so I think we can do that. Have I priced it out? No, but I feel like I've seen enough of other campaigns. We can find somebody out there that knows how to do it, even if I have
Yeah,
to
so
talk to Matt.
the pricing of the campaign didn't factor into the cost of the goal. Like you didn't
No,
go
no,
2000 because that
not really.
covers the
It's going to
trading
be
cards, that covers the
right.
this and this and this. We already know that we need 300 of these things because we're going to have 300 orders, or we're planning to order a print run of 1000, and we need a cushion room of between 100 and 200 of these
Yeah.
these stretch goal things because we're not estimating on overprinting. Like that's what I mean. There's the 2000 was just kind of like well, let's say 2000, and I have a general idea of how much it's going to cost to print. It doesn't really seem like money's an issue here. Is what I'm getting.
Well, I mean, with Critical Blast, he's going to be fulfilling it. He's about 4 hours away from where I'm at in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and so I'll probably get the books and everything. I'll do part of the fulfillment with myself with the boarding and bagging, and I'll go through and make sure there's no print errors or anything printed upside down. I used to work at World Color, and World Color is known for printing the Marvel comic books. Sadly, the division here we didn't do anything like that. We did do a Miss Magazine anniversary issue that had Wonder Woman on the cover. We did do Disney catalog and other things like that, but we never got to do any comics, sadly, because that could have added to my collection, because they actually you get to take some of those things home. But so I know a little bit about the printing process and kind of the pricing on things. I have been on eBay selling stuff directly to people for about 20 years now. So
Yeah.
all that kind of factored into it. Plus I actually talked to some people who's done some campaigns and priced some things out. Not only with the local printer, but like talked with the RJ, and we made sure that pound wise, we'll be able to send out a hardback artist edition and all these other books and not be stuck, with losing money when it comes time to ship.
Right.
Also, I talked to somebody about the hardback edition. I think that'll be very, and that's kind of through a print on demand thing. But it will absolutely, if there's ever a second printing, that will be denoted in the cover. It will be changed, or there'll be something. Right now, I have no plans to do any second printings. And I've kind of taken a page from Ethan. He says about 25% overage printing. I printed 100 of the ash can. There's only been 100 of those printed, but that was a little over 25%, I think, printed for that. Got good response with that. I'll probably stick with 25%. I may do a little bit more over on the blank cover because I'll definitely be drawing on some of those and putting those up on a future campaign with some of my
So you
artwork
mentioned
on it.
Critical Blast, right? Is handling the fulfillment. Why not
Yeah.
Rip a Send? Which should have been called Rip a Ship, by the way. It's
Yeah.
like so
Well,
much better.
for
And
one,
look, there
I-
is no Rip a Ship. Should
Yeah,
have been
the
Rip a
missed
Ship.
opportunity.
I knew
Missed
RJ.
opportunity.
I'd met with him about, I don't know, 6-8 months ago and kind of preliminary talked to him about fulfilling Devil Flyer in the future. So I was just familiar with him and didn't even, I did up to the other day, I did not even know about Rip a Ship.
Yeah, I think it just came out, didn't it? Rip a
Yeah,
Ship.
it came out
It's
like
not
2
Rip
days
a
ago.
Ship.
It came out 2 days
Oh,
ago.
okay.
It should have been Rip a Ship.
Wasn't actually like suggesting you use Rip a Ship or anything. It's not. It's Rip a Send.
Yeah,
It wasn't actually suggesting.
Rip a
It's
Send.
more
Okay.
of a joke kind of thing to get into a topic, which that's not happening. What?
Agent Zero says, Rip a Send, lol. This is a real thing? Wahahaha.
If I have a
Lo says,
question I have a question for you because I'm kind of like doing interviews, right? And
Yeah.
we definitely need to get you two on the show, not necessarily at my 4 Central time because I know people can't always catch that, but and talk some Mavericks and just what you do. But what's the big thing that you learned from crowdfunding? Because you've been at this a little while.
What's the biggest thing that I've learned from crowdfunding?
Yeah, you think?
Do you want to go first, or you want me to try and answer that?
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
want both of
market
your takes on that.
Find your audience first. Find who you're marketing the book to, because
outside of comic book.
Yeah, outside of comic books. Because if you can find the people who will buy your book once they know it exists, you don't actually have to advertise that to them. That will create a base of people who are already talking about it. The best way to market, to sell your book, is to sell it to people who don't buy comic books. If you're trying to sell it to people who buy comic books, you're competing with all the other comic books. You know what I mean? Like, if everyone's, look how many comic books are in this space. Everyone's got a comic book. So you're marketing it to, hey, if you like comics, you'll like my book. No, they won't. No, they like comic books. It's not necessarily that they're going to like your book at all. They might not like Devils or Flyers. Find your audience who will buy that, and they don't care whether or not it's a comic book. They would buy it if it was an action figure or a video game, or they'd watch the movie about it. If you find them, that's your crowdfunding audience, because they want to see the thing that you're making become a reality. And generally that means going entirely outside of the confines of any of the nice, safe little community ponds that everyone is comfortable being inside of, and the little YouTube circuit that everyone goes on. You have to go out there and forge your own destiny when it comes to finding your backers. I'm not saying don't go on YouTube shows or hang out with the people that you're hanging out with. That's your community. Those are your friends, but those are not necessarily your money, right? You don't want to be milking your friends for money. You want to be milking the people who want to give you money for the thing that you're selling. So that's my biggest suggestion, is go out and figure out who the audience for your book is going to be and find a way to access them, rather than doing what everyone else is doing, which is marketing to the same 200 guys who back Indiegogo campaigns.
Well, that was a joke, right? I mean, that 100,000 kind of, we weren't making money. It's just the 100,000 keeps
going around in a circle. Yeah.
That would be fine if it came to me.
Yeah, but then the point is you have to send that. The whole point is that you have to then spend that 100,000 on someone else. It going around in a circle doesn't mean you get to keep it and then it doesn't go on.
And you know what I did, about 2.5 years ago, I did back like a lot of the projects, and I did back them heavily, and some more than others, and even some ones that weren't even necessarily within the quote CG community. They just appealed to me. But I said, from the very beginning, I said, I can't expect people to back my book if I haven't shown the love to the community and backed at least a few of the other books. At this point, I think I've backed over 60, which I realize is not a lot of campaigns, but I've employed a lot of artists along the way too. um, letterers and other, colorists in the community. So hopefully I put some cash in their pockets that way.
Right.
That, and
And that's an
on
important
my
thing.
show, it's all about shilling other people's projects, doing an interview and getting to know them and talking about their comics. The focus is not on my channel all about Devil Flyer. Never has been, never will
Right.
be.
Right. And when we
What about
on
you?
on the shows that
What about you, Frequency Girl? What's your answer to that question?
Well, that was. It started off my answer, and then Neff
I
stole
did a better
it.
job.
Neff stole it. So I would say, what's the biggest thing I learned?
Fulfillment.
Have a lot of good shows to watch, like to binge watch while you're doing your fulfillment. That's not very helpful.
Yeah, if you're fulfilling 500 or
like
more,
good music to something to kind of like get you in the zone, to
something keeping you going. Yeah, if you're fulfilling a lot of books, it gets really tedious.
Oh wait, but RJ's doing your fulfillment, so that's not helpful.
But
no, that's your advice
my
though. That's what
answer.
you've learned. It wasn't what you other people should do. It's what you learned. That's what you learned, right?
That's what I learned.
Learn how to restore comic books.
Yeah. I did
Really? Whoa, now that's a tough one. But it's not really about just the books. Although on this campaign, I've been art centric, I've been book centric, and not a lot of tchotchkes beyond the tapestry and the standee. It's all been about the books on this, and I think Justin's right about that. Focus on the books, especially this first campaign, and then. But that doesn't mean that we can't do like 6 a.m. sticker, whichever, commissioning to do. Just going to give that. A lot of people do that as a stretch goal. I didn't want to do that. Just give it, to people. I want people to be excited about Devil Flyer. And I think, I want to tell different stories, Neff.
Yep.
Some people will go, well, you're milk toast. You're diluted down. You're trying to appeal too broadly. I don't think so. What I want to do is I don't want to constrain myself to just telling a comic book story. I want to tell a symphony. I want.
You're already a mad lad who's doing way too many characters. 17 first appearances in one book. It's absolutely insane. But you also put all of your own money into this, so it's not like a business for you where you live or die by the success of your books. So you can afford to compose a mad symphony. Shine on, you crazy diamond. You know what I mean? Like, for you, it's not about trying to market, make money, and be commercially viable or successful, run a business, have people that are customers and build your brand. None of that. You just want to tell cool stories, the stories you want to tell, and you're funding it all yourself. The more people that are backing reading, it's not the money, it's the readers.
Comics made me a reader. I needed that visual stimulation,
Yeah.
I've always
Agent Zero says, better than my business. Exactly. It's about the art and the storytelling and having fun with that more than it is, making your money to try and get it done. I guess that leads me to one final question. Why the $25 cover price then? If you're not worried about making your money back, why not sell it for 10 or 15?
Well, I think you can't go in the hole in that. Definitely. If you're selling.
Well, aren't you already in the hole? $2,000 didn't cover your art and your print run.
No, but you got to invest initially in yourself. If you on any business you open up, you're gonna have
for 5 years. Most big corporations are going to be taking on debt. Like Mavericks is a high quality loss leader, right? We didn't make a lot of money on the first book. We scraped by, but with the amount of work that I put in, if I'd been paying myself a wage, I'd be in the hole.
You would
so
be.
The point is, like, you're investing in yourself. You're definitely putting in a lot of money. My point is, why do the crowdfunding standard $25, 48 pages? Why not turn the tables or flip the script? 48 pages for $10. Holy shit, what's he doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you can afford to not give a fuck, don't give a fuck.
Right. Yeah. I guess just making sure that I do cover, and not go in the hole this very first. It is magazine size, so it's I left.
Yeah,
from a
but it's not $25 to print a book, Rex. It's not. I print an oversized book. I print a 108 page square bound book, and I did that for $2.18. So
Wow.
you're fine. $10 is still a margin on that. You're still
I
good.
actually paid
A little
more
more
to
than that,
print my ash can than you paid for that big tome. Wow.
Yeah. And we're now doing smaller size. We're still oversized as far as a book, but we're doing less pages. And I think what was the quote, the overseas quote for, was it 180?
I have to check.
Okay,
I
we'll
don't
have to
know
check.
the.
But you can get it down below
don't know.
$2 if you're doing a saddle
I
stitched
know the
book.
U.S. one was $2.20.
Well, that's the U.S.
Wow.
Fuck U.S. printers. Fuck U.S. printers, man. Like they charge an arm and a leg, and they charge the same amount of shipping to ship it to you in the U.S. as China does to ship it to you from China.
But now there's
like,
a lot of variables in that too, right? You've got your certain paper stock or card stock,
What do you mean?
you know, for your cover. I mean, there are variables in that, right?
Oh yeah, there's absolutely variables, but you saw what we did, right? Like the selections that you have overseas and domestic, they're not going to change. You know, if anything, overseas provides you more optional cover finishes. Like we could not find embossed spot gloss with soft touch lamination anywhere in the US. Not in the oversized that we were printing. Everyone who was doing it was only doing it standard comic book size, standard size. We wanted a 9x12. The only people who could accommodate that were a smaller printer in, what was it, Beijing? Was it Nanjing somewhere? I don't remember.
I know, you know, in my collection, I have a 56-page saddle stitched book. I would love to do something like that. In fact, eventually, you know, it was growing. I was trying to fit all the stories into one 60. I was up to a 64 page count. I have a 56 page book that is stapled, but it is the old newsprint. So
yeah,
that's
so you're
the
going
only way
lower
you could
quality
probably
paper
do
stock.
that thick a book and still have staples.
Well,
So,
I mean, yeah, you can do that. You can get away with 48
anybody
pages.
that does newsprint anymore. You can just ask Peter Samedi about that. You know, he had a time with printers over that.
But that was a while ago. I mean, newsprint isn't. It's not hard to find printers who will print uncoated, which is, you know, newsprint. It's a very cheap option. And if you're doing self cover, which is not like a harder, firmer cover stock, if you're doing self cover and newsprint, you can print for what Marvel and DC pay to print their own issues. We're talking about like 17 to 30 cents an issue.
And
so
like
if someone's
charging
print
runs are really a thing too, right? I mean, it depends on how much you're going to print.
Not necessarily. Some printers will give you discounts for buying in bulk. Like if you're buying 1,000 to 10,000, it's different. But not all printers are like that. Some printers will give you a flat price. Some printers will only kick in discounts at certain levels, right? They don't just could persistently get cheaper. Some printers will give you incentives from 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000, and then it doesn't get cheaper all the way to 100,000. It's all different depending on the printer that you go with, which is why I was asking you earlier, why $2,000, and have you figured out who your printer is?
Right. Some things are going to be printed with my former printer that did the work on the ash can. Probably more on the tchotchke side. There are some things like the full trading card that they cannot do. They cannot do the hardbound book as far as I know, but now they can do like banners, all type of stuff, you know. So Rex's passion is unthinkable. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it gets me up in the morning. Oh, John Dillard sent me a photo. Oh, awesome.
Mobig says you can save on shipping. You can save on shipping if they send your books on a slow boat down the Mississippi.
Yeah, Agent Zero said the Alterna books aren't self-cover. That's a good point. Whether or not they are, you can do a self-cover, which means that you're doing the same thickness and quality paper stock, whether it's coated or uncoated. It's an incredibly cheap option usually. It also depends if you're doing digital or offset printing.
Now, how many campaigns have you ran, Neff?
What's that?
What is your background? I know you did Mavericks, but you've done more than Mavericks, right?
Yeah, we did Judex. I've done several books that aren't crowdfunded.
Mhm.
I've got 2 books coming up this year that we're going to be crowdfunding. It's I guess the question is, what have you sampled? You know, like you said, you've backed 60 books. I've backed almost 500, 600. So I've looked at what other people do.
Mhm.
I've looked at their campaigns. I've looked at their pricing. I've looked at their shipping. I've looked at their options. I've looked at the things that they offer. Like Pixel will tell you. Pixel will say what you need to do in this game to make a $20,000 campaign is to analyze what everyone else has done and then just do better, right?
I said we also talked to, I think, like every printer in the
Yeah,
United
we did. We talked to
States
just
at
about every
some
printer in the
point.
US who could try and handle our print run.
All
Yeah.
this is digital versus offset that always causes flashback.
It does, right? And then there's
And,
also digital offset printing where you do both.
Dillard is telling someone to check their DM.
Dillard!
that's
What's up,
that's
Dillard?
me. I
Dillard's great.
I did. Yeah.
Shadowhawk says, I have a team of kestrels I'm training right now. I've only lost 3 fingers so far, but the stunt books have been undamaged.
Nice.
You just made Neff so
Yeah,
incredibly
yeah.
jealous if you
I love
actually
kestrels.
have kestrels that you are training.
Yeah, I'm super
he wants to be
jealous. If
Falcon.
Shadowhawk is actually training kestrels, I'm gonna go find where he is and watch him play with the tiny little falcons. They're adorable.
Soon, my new venture, Hawk Drop, copyright.
Yeah, Agent,
Also, hi,
Agent
Shadowhawk.
Zero says, stop it.
Oh, sorry.
Agent Zero says,
I was putting it up for you. I'm gonna go over here before you punch me.
I'm gonna send you upstairs. Nefarious Alterna comic floppies are pulpy, lower quality traditional newsprint with slick matte gloss covers as floppies. It has that traditional old school feel. Yeah, so like the slick matte, not satin, but you can kind of like see the ink is a little bit shiny, and it has like that pulpy interior. It's not even like a unfinished or uncoated interior. It's actual wood pulp. Yeah, it's a good point.
Mobig says he's training kestrels to watch over his baby goat.
A kestrel is a tiny little falcon, and they're freaking adorable. Agent
Yeah,
Zero.
they're-
They're the cutest little things, and they
Oh,
bob their heads
okay.
and just I melt every time I see them.
And they like
They make
hunt
little
grasshoppers.
and they make little chirps like. And there's just all right, whatever. We're getting off subject here. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything that I asked. Is there anything else you want to tell people before we pack it in? We went over a little bit.
I just to highlight a little bit, go a little deeper on what I was saying is it's not necessarily I don't want to limit myself on storytelling. So we have like old Charlton horror type, and Grave Tales and straight superhero type stuff, and we'll get into the noir. We'll get into period pieces like set back in the late 30s. Are on the slate, and we'll do futuristic sort of what if stories where you can kind of be introduced to some characters as they are in the distant future, which will also set up, well, if that's pictured in this in the future, then I wonder what's happening in the present. So, but I won't make it so wild that you won't know where you're at, but I do want to have something for everyone, as far as, which I know is impossible now, but have a if you don't like the superhero
I don't think
genre,
it's
maybe there's a horror story or a romance thing, or maybe there's something told in a certain style that will appeal to you.
Yep, Dillard knows. I've seen that video too. I love it. He's some dude throws a kestrel from a moving vehicle like a Pokemon to attack evading pigeons. They're starlings. Starlings are nuisance birds.
Yeah, they are.
I feel bad for the starlings, but dude, it is so adorable when the tiny little kestrel zooms out of the car window and just takes one out, and then he's got to go over and he's got to like take his little bird back, and it's all making
starlings
the noise,
are not
yeah. So
naturally native to America. They were brought over
invasive.
from Africa.
They're invasive species. Yeah. Crazy, right? And they're everywhere. So
and they're everywhere. In
I
great
think you
hordes.
could do it though, and I don't think you should limit yourself either. I think you should explore any of the genres that you want to explore to tell stories about, because you're excited to be a storyteller. I think that you're in a very unique position that other people who are making comic books aren't in, and that really goes for a lot of the people in the self-publishing indie crowdfunding space. Right? We're in a very unique position where we're not beholden to a publisher. And the publisher, since we're self-publishing, we're not beholden to the market and market forces, which dictate what we have to do to keep an audience or attract an audience. We could do whatever the fuck we feel. So I encourage you, do what you want and pursue any of the stories that you want to tell. I suggest a couple of things that might maybe make it easier for you to sell those things or to get them out there to people or to attract new readers. But by no means am I trying to discourage anyone to tell the stories they want to tell. I think that we should do more of that. We need more people being brave.
I wish there were greater communication, you know. I mean, that's why Justin helped me with this. He was more than happy to help because he's got a helper mentality of, you know, I know these things and you know, if somebody has, hey, I got a lower price on a printer, you know, or where you can get this made for cheaper or, you know, at a very affordable price, which is going to help your profit margin, which is going to help you be able to reinvest into your, you know, what you're trying to do. But I don't see a lot of that going on. I see a lot of talk about it, but there's not a lot of, maybe behind the scenes, people are DMing and sharing some of this information, but it is a daunting thing for some people and can be overwhelming. I've always got an open ear. So if you've got some printing knowledge I need to know about or something, I've always got an open ear for that type of thing. I would rather you teach me how to fish than give me a fish.
Right. And it is all about learning how to fish if you want to be making the books. But then again, at the same time, like I could try and save you money hooking you up with a printer or teaching you about like how to shop and compare prices and what it is you're going to be looking for. And that's certainly doable. But it really doesn't matter if you're selling like 200 books, 300 books, right? Like we're talking about the returns coming when it's in the thousands.
Yeah, that was one other thing I was going to say. You know, Ethan said that he was going to print like 17,000 of Cyberfrog at one point.
Too many.
And then I think it maybe wound up being Wreck Planet, maybe about 20,000. I'm not sure. But even at 20,000, that is a small print run compared to the big two. We're not going to threaten them whatsoever, but I think all the momentum, no pun intended, is on the independent side. I think the most exciting stuff out of 30,000 comics roughly that I have in my collection, the stuff that I treasure the most, and if I had another house fire, the stuff that I would grab first to get out of the house would be that rare, low print, independent stuff that may not have the polish that some of the big two have on them. But it's always the independent stuff because I can see the thought process and the passion from those independent creators. And that's just my jam, Neff. Always has been. I do appreciate the big two back in the day. And, as you know, others that might have grown bigger like Image or Eclipse. I collected it all, a little bit of it all. Pacific Comics, love their stuff. You know, but I love the independent stuff.
You're highlighting Agent Zero because he said get a press and do it yourself.
Because that's inspiring to me. I want to be inspired.
We wanted to buy a paper mill and make our own paper at one point. Not just do the printing press, harvest the trees and make the paper as well. Brian and I were looking in South America. We actually started looking and we were like, oh, we could actually do that. We could buy. And then we came to our senses because it's like, we don't have anyone to run the operation and neither one of us want to go down to South America to oversee it.
Right.
Dillard says, I would grab my family photo album. Just saying.
Yeah.
Aldous says, I'd grab my kids.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. We're going to take off. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate you spending time with us tonight. Don't forget to check out Devil Flyer on Fund My Comic. The link is going to be in the description of the video. It's also been pinned at the top if you're watching and checking out the chat. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're not already, please subscribe. We could always use your support. And as always, click the bell for notifications to find out when we go live next.
And tune into the frequency.
We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.